A stack to tackle for our panellists tonight. To unpack all the day's big issues, I'm joined now by Member for Hunter, Joel Fitzgibbon, and lawyer and businesswoman, Carolyn De Russo. Good evening, team.
G'day, team. Good to be with you.
Afternoon, gents.
Fantastic to have you here. So we've got a coal group formed within the National Party, Joel, and now Barnaby has gone rogue again on the impotency of the boss. You know how he ticks, Joel. Is he pitching for numbers?
I think I do know how he ticks, Chris, and he's thrown two very large grenades in this week, one on the coalition arrangements and, of course, the other on coal and coal generation. And I've made the point, about time I should say, I've made the point so many times that in the good old days, people like Blackjack McEwen and Ian Sinclair used to put a price on their support for the Liberal Party to allow them to form a government. But these days, all the Nats look for really is the extra salary, the bigger office and more staff. And they just allow themselves to be bullied by, in particular, Scott Morrison, but also before him, Malcolm Turnbull.
Hang on. You're on Barnaby's side on this one.
I've certainly observed the fact that the Nats no longer stand up against the Libs and stand up for regional Australia. The Libs walk all over them, Chris. As I said, they just take the higher salary and the prize, and Barnaby's called it out. I've been calling it out for a few years now, at least, and I'm still calling for them to release that secret coalition agreement, the agreement which allows the Liberal Party to form a government in Australia. Remember, Chris, Labor is the largest party in the House of Representatives. Scott Morrison only serves because the National Party agreed to a coalition with him. The Australian people are entitled to know what agreements have been made to allow that to happen.
OK, Carolyn, I think he makes his best point, Barnaby, today about the fact that all of a sudden, quietly, without too much fanfare, Michael McCormack now sits further away from the Prime Minister. It's a symbol that I don't think is a very good symbol. He's sitting over there on his own. Josh Frydenberg's now his right-hand man.
I have noted that myself, actually. And that there is a matter for the leadership of those two parties to nut out amongst themselves. Yes, I think the Nats probably should stand up to the Libs a bit more. I know Barnaby made a point about, them not having as stronger portfolios and what have you. I do see value in Nationals holding portfolios that are related to regional Australia. Yeah. And I just feel like it's particularly within those portfolios that's where they push. Things like agriculture, things like drought relief, all those sorts of portfolios are better handled by the Nats. But within the coalition themselves, I think they should be more robust. It's better for everyone. Yep. From the outside looking in, the average Australian punter is sick of pollies talking about themselves. So we know that there is a sniff of an election coming up, but can you please focus on policies and issues that relate to Australians and stop talking about who you sit next to on the bench?
Yeah, let's talk about baseload power, Joel. We had Matt Canavan talking about one being built in the Hunter Valley. We want some more in Queensland. I would have thought, given the politics of coal, it's now a dead and buried issue. We won't see a new coal-fired power station. Scott Morrison seems to be intent on doing it with gas. What's the chance of a new coal-fired power station in your electorate?
And this is the hoax, Chris, and you are right. Scott Morrison walked away from coal generation many months ago. Look, as the member for Hunter, I would welcome a new, efficient coal-fired generator in the Hunter Valley. But the fact is, Chris, it's not going to happen. Investors show no interest in it because you need a 40 to 50 year return on your investment. It would be around at least $3 billion, by the way. And it's interesting, Chris, the Nats supported the expenditure of $3 million of taxpayers' money to do a feasibility study into a coal generator in Collinsville. What they're investigating, I still haven't worked out. But they can nominate the one in the Hunter Valley without any feasibility, Chris. This is the key point. But certainly we need more synchronous firming power into the system.
Yes.
And look, one of these highly efficient, low emission power generators could deliver that and allow more renewables into the system. And look, we could even potentially put carbon capture and storage with it. So it could be a good environmental outcome.
Yep.
But the Nats have no idea about how to make this happen. And it's very, very clear that Scott Morrison doesn't support them. And Chris, one thing I'm very firm on, we're not going to have $3 billion worth of taxpayers' money building a coal generator the private sector is not prepared to build, when that $3 billion or more could be going into highways and roads and other infrastructure we so desperately need in the regions.